point, Dr. Frederick, do you think universities are actually going to maybe abandon standardized testing scores, which are also historically being overvalued, but not actually accounting for the underservice of certain type of minorities and communities? And maybe these universities and colleges are now going to focus more on personal essays, which you speak of, which are going to be time consuming and maybe wasting very valuable real estate in these essays to be able to explain things that they shouldn't have to explain in terms of the backgrounds.
Yeah, and I think that's one. I think that's one area that we're going to have a challenge. The other areas, I think, and you see it with state institutions that are chronically underfunded. So major flagship state institutions that are chronically underfunded, who take in out-of-state students to help bring in more revenue because those students are charged more, etc. They tend to use zip code as a surrogate for wealth and to try to attract and to increase the number of students that they are taking in by taking in students from certain zip codes. And that can happen, which would further marginalize students from underserved minority populations if you start using things like zip code. And I think all of those surrogates, people will use school districts, zip codes, all of those are going to begin to impact what we see in terms of the population, which will further, I think, marginalize a number of underrepresented minorities in those classes that we have an issue.
Underrepresented minorities. People, what in the world? Underrepresented minorities. Really? Is this real? This is going to be the person, who's he protecting? Really? Then you wonder how Howard got where they are. You wonder about that. How did Howard get here? Who's defending our interests? So far, can't tell. So far, can't tell. So far, can't see. All right, fine. Just leave it there. Just leave it there, man. Yeah, you wonder how you got here. Wonder how you got here. You know what? I'm going to tell you how you got here. You wonder how this happened? You wonder how this occurred? I'll tell you how it happened. I'll show you how it occurred. We're going to get there. I'm going to show you. But before I do, we're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to show you and explain to you exactly who the chief villains are here in this story and exactly who is responsible. Before we do, I want to thank everyone and everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat, Venmo. My man Tommy Felix supporting B1 Media. The racist war is never over till we win. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. Doris, Oberon, everybody else here, thank you very much for your support. We're going to take a very brief commercial break. When we come back, I want to know when I do the documents of the conversation. I'm going to take you to the Supreme Court ruling. You can see exactly what they said. You can see exactly what they said. We'll be back in a moment. This is the Black Channel. Our experiences span multiple industries, giving us ability to League Generation. Text 513 440
It is a decent looking attack here. Crossing towards the far post. Well, threat over for now.
A white supremacist assassin seeks revenge.
And the Hurricanes moving the ball forward here. What can they do from this position? A fine reading of the situation.
Them all, and some survive.
Ronaldo.
One missed one, and he's a dead man. And tells you, Black First. A sequel to the underground hit War of the Heart.
Well, here we can see it again. Look at the way he plays past and creates space for himself. And once he gets on top, he just smashes the pass forward and it's great technique. What an emphatic finish that is.
So the ball is rolling again at 1-1.
Was created to uniquely address Black American history and contributions that have been intentionally hidden and suppressed. These that account born to learn and sharing the Black American history and Black conventions, heroes, talents, Black businesses, sign up and support not only Black business, but the movement at www.blackbusiness.org.
Well, he catches it, but it's over on target, and a goal kick it'll be.
Viewers today to experience all the benefits of ash cake and natural body
Successful intervention, winning the ball back.
and soul with Thanos for it. Shop ash cake and home. That's ASHKICAIE.
Individual brilliance. Good bit of pressing. Nice score! Vital intervention. And collected tidily. He has plenty to think about.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose, and author of the book Press But Not Crush. Press But Not Crush is an anthology of local mindset, just current and historical issues and American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social degradation, issues, American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issue.
Borderline offside, but correct.
This is Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening as we are discussing who killed affirmative action. Well, you know what? I've been talking about it for a while. I've been talking about it for a long while here. Everything that I predicted is coming to pass, exactly the way as I predicted it to come to pass. That's exactly what you end up with here. So, why don't we go ahead and take a look at who killed affirmative action? Let's go straight to the triggermen. Let's go straight to the triggermen.
And the referee is
First of all, here's Steve's fair admission. They've been sitting up here using Asians as their front people and past dummies to protect and project. This is what they do. But here's the guy, Steve's fair admission. We covered him before, Edward Blum.
poor attempt at a
He's been the
foul.
guy spearheading. He's been the guy leading it. He's been the guy pushing it. He's been the guy behind it. This is what he's been doing. This is what he's been
On the ball, having made that difficult challenge.
So just recognize what we've been up against and what we've been dealing with.
And back now with Petr
This is
Cech.
what we've been up against and what we've been dealing with here. So understand the levels
Forward for the keeper, you've got to say.
and levels of sophistication and imagination that you're talking about.
Well, that's a well-timed pass.
That's the thing I want
But
to
in fact, he's taken up another nice position.
Oh, that's frustrating. He just took too long to see the pass.
These folks putting in real damn work. Talk about organized and finance.
So a throw in here.
They're for real about this. They're serious about this. But see, black folk are never going up against just one person or one individual. You're going up against an organized society. You're going up against an organized society.
Jordi
This is
Alba.
what we got to deal with. Think about that for a few moments.
Mohamed Kudus. Good tackle.
So you remember I covered this before. I want to show you all this before, that they're using Asians as their front people.
Really good
They're
interception.
using Asians as their willful collaborators. But when you take a look at who's behind it, who's pulling the string, oh, it's the white supremacists. Now, some folks say, well, he's Jewish, but it's the white supremacists.
Pepe Reina. And that pass could be troublesome.
It's the white supremacists.
Tremendous goalkeeping.
Well, he just made it so difficult for the striker. His presence alone just caused him
Recognize
a
what
problem.
we got to deal with.
Well, they haven't created too much lately,
Coming
but
at
the
you
fans
all
know this is a
the
chance to
time.
make
Recognize
plays
what
here.
you up against. Coming at you all the time.
And the first time is in the history books here at the Bernabeu.
That's just what I'm showing you there. I want to take you somewhere else, and we can take a look at the Supreme Court ruling itself. This is the actual verbiage of the Supreme Court ruling itself. And you can see who the plaintiffs are: Students for Fair Admissions versus President and Fellows of Harvard College. Now, you're talking about Harvard, which should have some of the best minds there. A former president was head of their law review. So you take a look at this. You would figure, well, Harvard is eminently qualified to defend themselves against this. They start talking about what the Supreme Court starts talking about what they don't like about it. Now you take a look at what they're saying here.
Interesting.
And it goes on for a while. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Not going to read the whole thing. But what I am going to say here is that the court rejects UNC to talk about UNC is that University of California. They're talking about UNC, Harvard, University of North Carolina. Harvard University of North Carolina are two of the oldest institutions higher than the church in the United States. All right.
Excellent ball over the top. Defended well.
It says here that
A good
UNC
offensive
has a similar
play.
admissions process. Every application is reviewed first by an admissions office reader who signs the rating of each
Ronaldo, such a difficult opponent, as we know, and that was the case in the first 45. Stuart, how about your take?
Well, he certainly got his team back into this game with that goal, because up to that point, they hadn't played particularly well. I think they had a decent first half. He'll be looking to build on his goals in the second semi-final.
consider the applicants' rates. Petitioners, Students for Fair Admissions,
Well,
is
the
a
perfect
nonprofit
tackle,
organization
and now
to defend human and civil rights secured by law, including the right of individuals to be protected by the law. SFFA filed against the Department of Policy, arguing that their race-based admissions program violates, respectively, we got messed up in this. Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Equal Protection Clause of the 8th Amendment after several bench trials for the convictions.
Oh, come on. Tackle goes right to another player.
I want you to listen to this next part here because this is a little bit important.
It's with Douglas
I want you to
Luiz.
listen to this next part.
A very timely interception. Ronaldo.
The court rejects UNC's argument that SFFA lacks standing because it is not a genuine
Conditions look
membership
pretty good for the
organization.
counter-attack.
The organization of plaintiffs can satisfy
Defender
in
needs to cover.
two ways. One of which is to assert standing solely as the representative of its members, Warwick versus Sullivan,
Good pressure
and
high on the
approach known as representational or organizational standing.
And he's answered himself.
So in other words, this is talking about the name you can bring a case.
It's very effective, good high pressing.
Can they even bring a case? The court's like,
And the
they
final
start bending
tackle.
all the damn rules here. They start bending the rules about who can bring a case. They argue instead that SFFA is not SFFA is not a genuine membership organization at the time it filed suit. Respondents maintain that under Hunt, a group qualifies as a genuine membership organization only if it's controlled and funded by its members. In Hunt, the court determined that a state agency with no traditional members could still qualify as a genuine membership organization in substance because the agency represented the interests of individuals and otherwise satisfied Hunt's three-part test for organizational standing. So, of course, we bend the rules. As the courts below found, SFFA is indisputably a voluntary membership organization with identifiable members who support its mission and whom SFFA represents in good faith. SFFA is thus entitled to apply the organizational Now, you listen to this next part. Proposed by Congress and ratified by the states in the wake of the Civil War, the 14th Amendment provides that no state shall, quote, deny to any person the equal protections of the law. So we're talking about immediately for the slaves and those of us who are the descendants. That's what this is referring to. And this is why in their mind, this is a joke. In their minds, this is a cruel joke against us. We'll support hate crimes against black people. We will not defend black people. We will prosecute black people for hate crimes.
Well, let's see what they have in store for them all the way.
Will not protect black people, it'll protect everybody else and penalize black people. So understand, when we're talking about white supremacist structure, to them, this is a joke. It goes on to say here that proponents of the Equal Protection Clause describe this foundational principle as not permitting any distinctions of law based on race or color. Well, that was supposed to be to protect black people. White people are not suffering, have not then and do not now suffer any type of discrimination or distinction of law. That's the whole point is, well, white folk ain't suffering. We were the only ones suffering. You can't say this law is protecting everyone. White people don't need protection. That's the whole point. They're not being penalized. They're not being discriminated against. They're not being systemically oppressed. White people don't need protection. And the courts understand this, but understand white supremacy is a stick joke. Any law which operates upon one man, by the way, to speed this up, I'm kind of running through the quotation marks on the screen. Any law which operates upon one man, they maintain, should operate openly upon all. Accordingly, as this court's early decisions interpreting the Equal Protection Clause maintain, the 14th Amendment guarantees, quote, that the law in the states shall be the same for the black as for the white, that all persons, whether colored or white, shall stand equal before the laws of the state. Meanwhile, they've ignored this for us, by the way. Now, they bring this up from the Supreme Court. Oh, you can't do that. But, by the way, they ignored this for us the entire time. Our concept of white ignored and violated every single day. And they ignore this for us on a routine basis. Accordingly, as this court's early decisions interpreting the Equal Protection Clause explain the 14th Amendment that states shall be the same that all persons, whether colored or white, shall stand equal before the laws of the states. Despite further recognition of the broad suite of the Equal Protection Clause with support, alongside the country, we will say to live up to the clause's core commitment. Quickly failed for whom? They quickly failed whom? Not Allen. Didn't fail him. Not Mr. Blum. Didn't fail him. Who did it fail? It's only failed one group. Has failed no one else. Despite the early recognition of the broad suite of the Equal Protection Clause, the court, alongside the country, quickly failed to live up to the clause's core commitments. For almost a century after the Civil War, state-mandated segregation was in many parts of the nation a regrettable norm. Regrettable, didn't do anything to stop it. This court played its own role in that ignoble history. You think? Alongside Plessy v. Ferguson, the second evil regime that would come to deface much of America. After Plessy, American courts labored with the doctrine of separate but equal over half a century. Brown versus Board of
And the
Education.
throw-in forthcoming.
Then they go through some other case law there.
Well, what an atmosphere we've got inside this stadium.
Goes
The
and says
fans are
that
driving the players on
years
here.
to follow.
Surely we're
Brown
going to head on now.
people that racial discrimination in public education. Reach other areas. For example, states also racial segregation means other kids from that. And anti-miscegenation,
With the score at 3-1.
these provisions of the collective reflect the core purpose of the Equal Protection Law. Doing away with all the mentally imposed discrimination based on
Decided to play it back.
eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating. This is their words in the Supreme Court ruling. This is John Roberts. This is John Roberts, the Supreme Court Chief Justice. This is him talking. Eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. That's interesting. Y'all ain't dealt with the parts that we talked about yet. You want to eliminate everything except the parts that we keep coming back to you for because you told us that you can't prove racial intent.
And a time for
That's what you told us. That you can't prove racial intent. So the only time they're going to talk about race is when it goes against us. The only people who are not protected.
And that is the end of the
We need to
competition.
eliminate
Not
all
a happy outcome as far as the
all
visitors
racial
are
discrimination
concerned.
except
Well,
when black
the
folks show
full
up.
result
Then
was
we'll
a really tight contest. Both sides had their chances, could have gone either way, but in the end, they were
Eliminating racial
disappointed.
discrimination means eliminating all of it. Till the police show up. Qualified immunity. When the police show up, is qualified immunity. Every time you show up. Accordingly, the court has held that the Equal Protection Clause applies without regard to any differences of race or of color or of nationality. It is universal in its application. Whoa versus Hopkins. For the guarantee of equal protection cannot mean one thing when applied to one individual and something else when applied to a person of another color. And yet that's all we've encountered. Any exceptions to the Equal Protection Clause's guarantee must survive a daunting two-step examination known as strict scrutiny. See, when we show up, all of a sudden, well, you know, there's hurdles you got to get over, and there's standards we got to get around here. When we show up, all of a sudden, when we show up, then it needs to be that. They're talking about when they first considered a university may make race-based admission. Was binding precedent. Yeah. See, when we show up, it said that Justice Powell explained, and antipathy toward them was deeply rooted in our nation's constitutional. Let me go back a little bit there. This court first considered whether a university may make race-based admissions decisions in Bakke. In a deeply splintered decision that produced 6 different opinions, Justice Powell's opinion for himself alone would eventually come to serve as the touchstone for constitutional analysis of race-conscious admission policies. After rejecting 3 of the university's 4 justifications as not sufficiently compelling, Justice Powell turned to its last interest asserted to be compelling, obtaining the educational benefits that flow from a racially diverse student body. Justice Powell found that interest to be a constitutionally permissible goal for an institution of higher education, which was entitled as a matter of academic freedom to make its own judgments as to the selection of its student body. But a university's freedom was not unlimited. Racial and ethnic distinctions of any sort are inherently suspect. Justice Powell explained, and antipathy toward them was deeply rooted in our nation's constitutional and demographic history. Accordingly, a university could not employ a 2-track quota system with a specific number of seats reserved for individuals from a preferred ethnic group. It's interesting because the legacy folk get that. They get a specific number of reserved seats. Neither still could a university use race to foreclose an individual from all consideration. Race could only operate as a plus in a particular applicant's file, and even then it had to be weighed in a manner flexible enough to consider all pertinent elements of diversity in light of the particular qualifications of each applicant. For years following Bakke, Lower courts struggled to determine whether Justice Powell's decision was binding precedent. Gutter 539. So in other words, we go through all this stuff here where for black folk it's like, ooh, we got to struggle and strive with it. We got to struggle and strive with it. That's what they're telling us. So what they say now is 20 years have passed since, brother, with no end to race-based college admissions in sight. But the court has permitted race-based college admissions only within the confines of narrow restrictions. Such admissions programs must comply with strict scrutiny, may never use race as a stereotype or negative, and must at some point end. Excuse me? When white supremacy ends, sure. Respondents' admission systems fail each of these criteria and must therefore be invalidated under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. So in other words, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments that were intended to protect specifically the descendants of the slaves, they're now telling you that that amendment penalizes us and benefits everyone else. That's what the Supreme Court just said. The 14th Amendment now has been weaponized against the very people who were put in chains that it was intended to protect. They're now telling you it protects everyone except you. Well, yeah, we know it was written for you, but white supremacy, cool joke. It now protects everyone except you. It doesn't protect you, it protects everybody else. That's what we're doing now. It protects everyone else. So letting you know this isn't accidental. This is the plan, man. This is the plan. This is what it always was. This is the plan. So just understand, these people here, what we've been talking about this whole time about who they're bringing over here and what they're over here doing and what their agenda is and how they've been doing it and how they've been working hand in hand. Just understand that's what you're dealing with here. This is the biggest Supreme Court decision since Brown versus Board of Education. And take a look at what happened. But I'm just letting y'all know something right now, that this is good. This is good. I want you all to understand this is good, because this is what you need to see. You need to see that these folks are serious as hell. They ain't taking no prisoners. They're serious as hell and they're getting after it. They're serious as hell and they're getting after it. They ain't playing no games. I've told people for a decade now, you see, if white supremacy takes its boot off of black folks' necks, black folk are going to go back to sleep. So it is going to take a constant, never-ending barrage and siege on us. Because if you leave us alone for a moment, we're going to put our thing down and go walking back home. So no, we can't be allowed to do that. Yank the Voting Rights Act, affirmative action. Black folk have got to remain vigilant. Unfortunately, what black folk have shown in America is that if we don't remain under attack, then we won't remain. If we don't remain under attack, we won't remain vigilant. So right now, you don't have a choice in the matter. You got to remain vigilant. You got to remain on point. You got to remain ready and looking. You don't have no 2 or 3 ways around it. Ain't gonna work that way. Not gonna work that way. Just remember what you're up against here and how it really works. Recognize what you're really up against and how it really works going forward here. You got a whole bunch of folks sitting up here trying to deceive you and fool you. Tell you everything's all right. Tell you everything's okay. Not just been one person sitting here warning you. If we don't take a look at these things and stomp out all the demons, they're not going to just stop in one place. That's not the way that works. It doesn't work that way at all. I want you to see how serious the threat really is. Next up, just remember, next up, now they get to your physical rights. Now they get to invalidating your physical rights, your civil rights. See, they started with the Voting Rights Act, then they moved over to affirmative action. Next up is the big ones, the Civil Rights Acts. Mark my words, those are the next ones. Next, we're going to get to those pesky little Civil Rights Acts. Shout out to Kwame Kirkland there in the Super Chat. Thank you very much for your support. We see that number one. Next up is your civil rights, y'all. Those are going to be next. Only for us, though, not for everybody else. Everybody else will be okay. They're going to say that everybody else needs civil rights protection against us. That's what they're going to say next. We need to have civil rights protections against black people. That black people, their civil rights are violating everybody else's. That's what they're going to tell you next. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code. The program that has defined and redefined what it means to be new black media. Very glad to have you all here with us today. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to support on PayPal, Cash App, Super Chat, Venmo. Everybody gathers around when momentous events like this occur. We're here every damn day dealing with it, which is why we have to monitor this. We're here every day. Shout out to B1 Media as a lifesaver. My man Mark B, Andrew L, you staying triggered. Stay vigilant. My man Mr. Chadwick and Mr. McReynolds, thank you very much for your support of tonight's program here. And to everybody else here on the program, Najee, Mr. Wilburn, and everyone else, thank you very much for your support. We're going to go ahead and jump on the phone lines here. Let me get caller from area code 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, big brother Jason. This is brother Elijah calling out of Brooklyn, New York.
Hi, brother Elijah. What's on your mind?
Brother, I got a quick question. I got two quick questions. With this affirmative action that I do, obviously, big brother. And my first question to you is, did black people, black Americans, ever benefit from it in the first place? And my second question, big brother, now that this is terminated, where do we go from here?
Well, as a whole, no. We never actually benefited in the first place as a whole. No, we didn't. Because it got short-circuited early. They started injecting white women into it. When they included trick bag language, what generally was happening was black folk were saying, well, how serious could it be? How bad could that be? How bad could it get? And then you're finding out how bad it is and how bad it could be and how bad it gets. So that's been the real issue. So it started, and what they did give us were some things. So you started getting government jobs. You started getting some college jobs. But as far as a full-blown remedy for systemic racism and white supremacy, that's never occurred. The poison pill was put in from the beginning. Now what they're doing is trying to make a move so that it never gets to that point. It never really benefited us like it was supposed to begin with. It essentially didn't. Now they want to make sure that it's a foregone conclusion that it can never do it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, big brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get a caller from area code 571. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Shakir. I'm calling from Arlington, Virginia.
All right, Shakir from Arlington. What's on your mind?
Yeah, today I called in the C-SPAN. They were talking about affirmative action and reparations. And I mentioned your name, and I mentioned Professor Blackfoot, and I mentioned Tariq Nasheed. And I said you have a substantial black audience. and that Dick and C-SPAN should invite one of you on to talk to them. This is 16 minutes into the broadcast today of July 1st, and you should listen to what they say about you.
I can imagine.
Just listen to it.
Like I say, definitely, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Absolutely. Like I say, look, we're persona non grata. We're the people who tear things up. We're people who rip things down. Just understand, they know who the real threat is. And they are our enemies, and I am proud to say that they are our enemies. Call them here, code 425. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Agnes, and I'm calling from Seattle, Washington. Good evening.
All right, Agnes from Seattle, Washington. What's on your mind?
Hi. Two things, real quick. First of all, the Asians really screwed themselves out of gaining admission to these white schools. Okay? What's going to happen in the next couple of years? You will see Asian admissions decline precipitously. Plus, they don't have any other schools to go to. At least, second point, we have HBCUs. We built those schools. Those are our schools. We can go back to them, and we can rebuild from there. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller. Okay, I hit the wrong button on somebody. Let me get caller from area code 647. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Grace from Brampton.
Hello, Grace from Brampton. What's on your mind?
So I just want to say that Black people need to wake up. There is no POC solidarity. There's no POC unity. Black people are the only group of people that has to advocate for other people's issues. But if we ask other groups of people to advocate for our issues, then it's always up for debate, or they try to gaslight us. And these coons actually think that these POCs are on our side, but these POCs, they come from communities that practice anti-Blackness. So Black people, forget about what's happening in the Ukraine, Asian hate, and what's happening with women in Iran. Focus on issues in your own community. Focus on your own problems. Because these POCs, they will never pass a chance to throw Black people under the bus in order to get that honorary Aryan status or to get that model minority status. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And like I say, you take a look who was the stalwarts fighting for affirmative action and who was fighting against it, who was at the forefront against it and has been now for a long time. So just understand that, folks. A lot of folks out here, the Minority Coalition, I'm asking anybody and everybody, will someone please tell me, where's the Minority Coalition today? Where's that? Call area code 818. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, this is Jabbar from Long Beach, California.
Jabbar from Long Beach, what's on your mind?
This is actually a really hard subject for me because my girl is actually half Asian. I simply mentioned to her that asked her how many historical Asian colleges that they have, and obviously she wasn't able to answer. And so I haven't spoken to her ever since this thing was passed. And yeah, I just had to say that, man. It's crazy that this one decision would have such a profound effect on me, that's so directly. Yeah.
Like I say, man, y'all are going to find out the hard way in this regard. You're going to find out the hard way who your friends are and who they're not. Brother Neely Fuller has talked about this forever, and this is something for y'all to learn, that y'all hop into bed with folks and, do what you do, but just keep in mind that you are...
Well, she's happy.
Okay, brother, okay, which half runs?
Sometimes we do.
Y'all see how you jump in the bush? She half Asian, brother. Which half is who?
No,
which half is running?
No, she's not.
Okay, brother, what I'm saying is that y'all are hopping brother, there's a whole bunch of folks sitting up here hopping in bed and, quote, biracials. And y'all are so busy trying to do what you think is a racial sexual conquest, and then you get out of bed and realize that she's not confused. Y'all are kind of confused. You think hopping in the bed with her shows solidarity and affinity with you, and then next thing you know, you bring up something like this, and all of a sudden she shows you which side runs things. So sexual.
Well,
she thinks that any black genealogy gives her a pass for sexual contact with you, but when it comes to protecting her interests, she's showing you whose interests she's protecting. I'm telling you, what happens when y'all hop out the bed, that's the real person. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. It's going to be a shock. It's a soul shocker. It is a soul shocker to some people. I understand it. It's a soul shocker. Y'all got to recognize what the hell going on. You hop in the bed. Some of y'all out there, you hoping for some interracial sexual access. And I'm like, do you see what the folks you hoping for interracial sexual access from? Do you see how they moving? And a bunch of y'all, from some of your friends who are racially mixed and biracial, just understand where they come from.